500,000 people is not acceptable. Is that a correct sort of an analogy? So, I mean, I see it all the time by friends of mine, by people that I have great respect for. Well, we could have done this, we could have done. And remember this, when we say 50 and they compare 50 to the 35 of the flu, because it averaged 35, 36,000 over a 10-year period, it's a lot. Who would think that? But we're not talking about, with the flu, that's just, it just goes. We're not locking ourselves in our units. We're not locking ourselves in our apartments and not moving and not touching anybody and just saying, you know, the world. In this case, we are. And we're still going to lose between 50 and 60. But if we just kept it going on a normal basis, which is really the only standard that you can compare it to with the flu, because that was a normal basis. You get into an airplane, you travel to Florida, you go to Texas, you go wherever you're going. But in this case, if we didn't do anything, the number wouldn't be 50 to 60,000. The number would be 1 million people dead. It would be 1.5 million, 1.2 million, maybe 700,000. It would have been a number in like that because, and it's so important because I see so much. Oh well, you know, you can't compare it because I'll tell you what, the people of this country, what they've done, they've gone out of what they had, the way they've lived. It's not great. It's terrible. Maybe the first 3 days, and then all of a sudden, you see what's going on. They want to get going. And I get that fully. But I just say this. If we would have done that, we would have lost anywhere from 1 million to more than 2 million people. Now, with all of the death that we've seen at 50 or 60,000 people heading toward, right now it's at 40, but 50 or 60,000 people, probably over 50 for what I see. But that's with our guard up. If we took our guard down and just said, okay, we're just going to keep this open, we would have lost millions of people. Can you imagine? Look how bad it looks now when you look at the bodies, when you look at Hart Island in New York where they have the mass grave and all of the things that you see. Can you imagine if we had the guard down, if we didn't do anything and we just said, let's ride it out? It would not have been sustainable in any way. It would have been an atrocity. So we've done the right thing. We've really done the right thing. And the people that have worked so hard and dangerously, I'll tell you, again, I say it, but I watch those doctors and nurses and medical people running into those hospitals, and they don't even have their gear on. Forget about gear, whether it's great gear or not, and we're bringing in the best gear in the world. But they're running in with open everything, and they're I mean, the job. They're like warriors, the job they're doing. But if we didn't do the moves that we made, you would have had 1 million, 1.5 million, 2 million people dead. So multiply that times 50. You're talking about you would have had 10 to 20 to 25 times more people dead than all of the people that we've been watching. That's not acceptable. The 50,000 is not acceptable. It's so horrible. But can you imagine multiplying that out by 20 or more? It's not acceptable. So it's a very good question. I appreciate it. We'll see you tomorrow.